Mm. Um, Thomas, you'll let us know when we have 5 seconds left. All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to our episode, another episode with eTalks. Here in this episode, we're going to dive into Atrium 916, circular economy, and what SB 54 is. I'm Hasna Ikash with our guest speaker, CEO of Atrium 916, Shira Lane. Shira Lane is a serial entrepreneur and a visionary behind Atrium 916, a leading creative innovation center for sustainability. With nearly 2 decades of experience as a documentary filmmaker, Shira has worked in some of the world's most challenging environments, collaborating with national nonprofits like RED and Earth Justice. In 2016, she founded Upcycle, America's first upcycle market, which evolved into Atrium 916, a hub for circular economy and zero waste initiatives. Shira continues to lead efforts in sustainability and arts advocacy, including her recent launch of Circular California, a statewide initiative promoting reuse infrastructure. Welcome again, Shira. It's great having you here. So tell us a little bit about your journey, starting with Atrium, what led you to open Atrium, and what its focus is about.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. I think I've been a documentary filmmaker for about a couple of decades. And I worked a lot in Los Angeles and San Francisco, working with nonprofits, trying to kind of really help. As we used to say, it's Unleash Productions, and we'd say, we only work with organizations that give a damn. It was really important to me that everything that we do is with purpose. So that was great. And then my partner wanted to move to Sacramento. And I moved to Sacramento, but my work was in LA and San Francisco, and that was difficult. So I started Upcycle-Pop because the holidays were coming and I didn't want to shop at the normal stores, and I wanted to meet the local artists. So I thought, oh, how fun would it be if I made this little market? Everything was upcycled and I could drink kombucha. Like, that seems fun. And my alley. And then I'd feel really good about spending money because I'd be supporting local artists. I'd be, so it was really my own little dream. And I did it. I went for a grant. I didn't get the grant, but I was so excited about this little project. And it went well. It went well. We had different artists. We brought different artists to come in. I gave them like 3 days to set up their booths and 3 days afterwards to take it down. And what that did is it helped create community. Because normally when you go to these markets, you have to quickly set up and then quickly break down, and you don't have time to meet the people that are next to you, your peers. So yeah, they had 3 days to set up. They could try out different things, and it became a community. And then after that, which we did very well, the artist came to me and said, hey, we really like this. We think this is fun. This is cool. Can we do it again? And I was like, nah, I'm busy. I've got my production company. And they're like, no, this is cool. I was like, okay, fine. So, but they helped. I was like, but you have to help. It's not just me. And so they really helped. And the second one was even better. And that was like from a Christmas, and then we did a Valentine's. So we were like, okay, something's here, And then the artist said, hey, we really like the community. We really like the space. And we were activating an abandoned building. It was a building that was up for sale. It was vacant. I met the landlord. He was super nice and let us use it to he was like, that'd be great engagement for him. So then the landlord contacted me and said, I really like what you're doing. Why don't you turn it into a little co-working space until I sell the building? And that's how it all kind of came to be. I said, yes, the only reason I do that, because the artist wanted to do the same thing. And I said, only if we're doing it zero waste. Because then it's interesting to me, because a co-working space is not a very lucrative business. It's not this. And I didn't want to do something just, So we said everything was zero waste. So, and we let people we had 34,000 square feet. It was a huge building. And we let the community come in and have affordable places to do events. But the trick was they had to do it zero waste. So you could get an affordable place, but it had to be zero waste. And so it really forced people to kind of figure out how to do zero waste. And with us, and we were like, hey, we're going to learn with you, and help you, but this is what we really want to do.
Yeah,
And it was tough. It was tough, but it worked. We had rules like, hey, the trash you bring in, the trash you take out, we have no trash here. Like, so that really worked. And then it grew. I think I don't know. Once I said yes and we did that, I think within 6 months we had about 18 organizations in the building. It was like a mushroom. It was like, oh my God. And we had drone races. It was a 2-foot story building. We had drone races. We had 2 dance studios. We had a lab that tried to work on mycelium stuff. We had another lab that they were working on how to make beer more using less water. So it kind of like became this creative hub, and we had artists and photographers, and it was awesome. And then COVID happened. But I think I'm skipping over some stuff. I think we incorporated in October. So no, in January, and then we got a 501c3 in October.
Oh, nice. I know that you worked like in some environments when I looked at your bio, there were like some environments like war zones and natural disaster sites. Do you think that had any influence over your desire to have your workplace like zero waste in any way?
Oh, I love this question. Thank you. Um, I think I have seen so much bad stuff that to me, life is precious. Every part of life is precious. Every person you meet and everything is precious. And nothing else makes sense. Like the zero waste thing, if I'm not doing something to do good, it doesn't make sense. And so I think that's how that influenced. I've never thought of that before, but I think so. I think so. I think that would be, yeah, just life is really, you see a lot of loss and you see a lot of pain, and we need a lot more joy. We need a lot more joy in this world, and kindness, and just omni consideration. Omni consideration is really taking into consideration all things you possibly can. We have one life. That's it. That's all we got. Let's make the most of it. How can we leave this world a better place? So
Definitely. And like art being such a thing that it unites people, and as you told us about how like your collaborative space, like generally artists, and that sort of is like a language everyone speaks, and then also getting people to be more sustainable and not leaving any waste, so you're helping them improve like themselves, challenge themselves, but also leave a good impact on the world without like leaving any negativity, and that's actually really nice. Do you want to sort of
thank
talk?
you.
Do you want to sort of talk
Yeah.
about?
Oh, yeah. Let me go back. So let me go talk a little technical here.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about the Atrium, it's kind of hard to understand what the Atrium is. Are you an arts organization? Are you an environmental organization? Are you an economic development? And we were like, no, like we're kind of like combined of all three. So if you go to the next one, where the Atrium actually exists is where they all three overlap. That we are part in, we're not just this, we're all three of them. So everything we do has to have that. And I think it all works together. Like things actually work better together than separate. And we've been doing things in silos and they just don't make sense. And so you can't be efficient in silos. You just can't.
Yeah,
So
go ahead. Sorry.
no, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think that's really nice of Atrium because, it includes both art and like anything related to the environment sustainability, because it's sort of like I personally believe art shouldn't be just made for art, but it should have a purpose. And so that sort of like helps artists also have purpose in their art. So helping the environment. So yeah, I totally support Atrium. I'm like, this needs to be in other states as well. Like I live in Texas and I haven't heard of anything like this before. So when I went to Sacramento, I was like, this is amazing. Definitely full support.
Thank you.
Yeah. Like I
Oh,
hope
that
it goes
makes me happy.
bigger.
Oh my
And
God. Oh yeah, so go back. So go back one.
yeah.
The other one with the hand. So this is Upcycle-Pop and how we started, which was those upcycle markets.
Mhm.
And some really fun things happened there. I mean, it became a play, you know, but everything around sustainability and where people could come. So during our Upcycle-Pop events, people would come in costumes. We would have and every time we would have an art installation that was related to kind of like the environment, where we had one where we made it look like you walk into a room and it's like underwater and you've got like trash floating all around you. We did an exhibit. I think if you scroll down, we did one on cannabis waste too. So these are some pictures of go back one. Sorry, I'm gonna drive you
This one?
crazy here.
You're fine. This one or
Yes, yes, yeah. So those pictures there with all those people, that's what Upcycle-Pop was, where you
Mhm.
could come, you'd walk around, but it wasn't just like a market. If you wanted to be part of this market, you had to be making. You can't just be in the market. You have to be
Love it.
making in the market. Like that was the thing. And it
Mhm.
became so fun. Now, again, this is just me going, wouldn't this be fun? Wahaha. Like, that's how this all started. So, everybody should kind of find more playfulness.
And
Um,
then how did Atrium come to be? So like because I know Atrium, as you just mentioned, has like a goal. So upcycle, it helped you create a community and then you turned it into Atrium. And I know like you're working on a lot more events and like launches like the Circular California for to leave an
yes.
impact on the world. So
So,
how
if you want to go back, this will help me kind of stay on track on how we grew here. So, if you want to go back
to
a little bit more. Yeah. So, Upcycle-Pop happened. And then you can keep scrolling. And then the artist wanted to create a co-working space, so we created the co-working space. It was going great. And we had a lot of people, dance groups, as you can see here. We had competitions in here. We had MMA fighting. Now here's where this gets interesting. Because we had a space, I'd pause here for a second. Because we had a space and it was 34,000 square feet that we could just play in. Like the landlord was amazing and just let us play. Um, and so, because we could play, so we started doing these creative economy meetings. And that was because, again, silos. The arts industry is normally siloed. You've got your artists, you have this. We're not like combined, and we're so much stronger when we work together. So there are a couple of issues I noticed in the city. So hold on one second there. There are some issues I've noticed with the city. So I started gathering these creative economy meetings, which was a way for us to say, hey, these are some opportunities that are happening in the city, and the city people and the county people to come and talk to the artists, and a way for the artists to come and also have a conversation with the city people in a very uninformal way kind of thing. It was more like a little get together. It really built the relationship between the artist and the city, you know, so it built that trust. And I think that was really important. And what happened is that year, I think a little bit beforehand, they said, oh, we don't have a budget for the arts this year. Like the city doesn't have any budget. And we were like, well, that's not okay. So we utilized these creative economy meetings and told everybody, like, hey, let's get together. We'll go and show up at city council, kindly talk to city council, and say that it's not okay that it's $0 because this is like the blood. This is like the soul of the city. Like you are disinvesting in the soul of your city. Um, and so we did. It was the first time the artists really came together in such a manner. And it was really a collaborative effort. So it's not just like, hey, the atrium. We were just the ones going, hey, let's do this kind of thing. But it was everybody kind of coming together. And yeah, it went from, so that year they, instead of $0, it came to $1.9 million. So that's really big, and it's really important for the artist community to really be connected and informed in what's happening within city, what's going on. Because as creative people, a lot of times your mechanism of funding is either going to be through grants and contracts, you know? So really start, I know that's not fun part of art, but it's part of art. You need to learn how to fundraise. It's just like they teach people how to be movie directors, but don't teach them how to raise money to be a movie director. Same thing with artists. Like, you have to understand where your money's coming from. Um, and that's something that is very important to the Atrium, is like, how do we economically support our creatives? Like, creatives are amazing. They're problem solvers. They're the ones that are going to get us out of this like environmental crisis that we're in. We need to support them. So how can we make sure that these creatives can bring in as much money as possible to do the work that they do? So that's part of the economic development kind of portion of what we do.
And so what were some solutions you guys found? Like, did you guys, I know there's grant writing classes online that people usually take to get better at like getting grants or fundraising for their work. So what type of steps did you guys take to help these
I
artists?
think just starting, start writing grants. Like, you'll find some small grants here and there. Like, I'm sure if your city or anything like that, or you can go to, actually our website has them all the time. I mean, for the Sacramento area mainly, if you go to atrium916.com/resources, we publish there just like, um, yeah, all the resources that we can find that pertain to our community. And we're regional, but we're trying to be hyper focused so that way other counties can open up their own atrium like us. Like, we don't want to be taking over territories. We want to be hyper local because we believe we can be much more effective that way. And if other people did the same, kind of like in a blockchain manner, it's like there are some things that need to be in a blockchain manner, and there are some things that need to be, kind of centrally managed. This is one of those things that needs to be everywhere, and tailored to that community. So where was I? Sorry, I'll go off track.
No, I think I love where you're going, love the flow. But yeah, so then I want to ask, during the pandemic, I know you guys like after the pandemic, I think that's when you guys officially became Atrium. But I know during the pandemic, you guys continued your guys' programs online. Would you like to inform us?
Oh, yeah. So we were the atrium beforehand. So really what happened, oh, and I'll get to this. Yeah, so we'll talk about this and then I'll get to that. So this is a showcase that we did on vape pens.
Mhm.
And what we were trying to say is that they're advertising vape pens as like disposable, that you can just dispose of these. Now, legally you can't. And, it's got an LED battery, it's got cannabis, all this, and people were just throwing it in the trash. And what's going on is that it goes into the garbage can, and the garbage will like squeeze it and put pressure on it, and then it will explode. And this is putting so many people in danger just by them throwing, you know what I mean? And so we did a big show that highlights this issue. We felt it was important. And then we brought in a panel to kind of really discuss this because nobody was talking about it. What is cool, and that's how I met this lady, Heidi Sanborn. What is cool is that after this exhibit and the panel, they continued meeting. And then Heidi went to push legislation that they can no longer advertise. Um, they can no longer advertise that these are disposable, and kind of put in some protections. They're still working on more. So this is like a dress made out of vape pens. This is like everything here that you see is all made out of vape pens. So it was a really cool show. And then anyway, so then 22, yeah, then what happened? These are the creative economy meetings. So COVID happened, and quickly we turned these creative economy meetings into online meetings. And we did that in March before anybody knew where the Zoom mute button was. And they became very popular. Hold on, before you go back down there. They became very popular. we had hundreds and hundreds of people because artists didn't know where to go. You know, everything was going crazy, and people were like, "Oh, just don't." I'm like, "No, like us creatives, we need to figure out our own like stuff out. Like, what do we do?" And so these were meetings. We had people talking about the PPP loans. We had people talking about unemployment. And because we had these meetings and conversations, we quickly realized, and we kind of knew this, but we realized it was substantiated that the artists, the main artists that do a lot of their markets, holiday markets and everything, like are going to be hit. Like they can't do anything, and a lot of the artists fell in the cracks. They couldn't get unemployment, and they weren't big enough for the PPP loans. And so because of that, we kind of like approached the city. We did a lot of advocacy with the city, and with a lot of people pulling, like everybody, the communities just came together. So you can go to the next one. We did like a little campaign because again, we had these creative economy meetings. We were working in collaboration. So we put, oh, go back to the 20 million. So we advocated, and then because of that advocacy that we did, the city put about 20 million into the arts community. The most per cap, like most than any city in the nation. You know, so that was like pretty amazing. And through that, a lot of the artists got grants, and the city started doing grants to individual artists because they had that relationship now. Like it's like crossing that barrier of like artists and government. No, no, no. We all work together. We should all play together too, you know? So moving on, because so we realized also during, you know, COVID, yeah, right there. Um, you know, after we kind of advocated all those funds and they went out to grants, and like it was awesome. Like a lot of artists got a lot of grants, and it was amazing. Um, but we realized that winter of 2020, all the markets are going to be closed again, and all the artists are not going to have like a way to make their normal amount of money. And so we kind of talked to the city, and they had a grant out. So we applied for a grant, and we applied to kind of create. Oh, I did forget another piece. Sorry. Like I said, we did a lot during COVID. So I'm going to backtrack a bit. Um, when masks weren't available, you can stay right there. When masks weren't available, a lot of my artists got asked to make free masks, and all the artists were making free masks. And a government official kind of called me and goes, "Hey, can your artist make us some masks for like the school board?" I was like, "Sure, what's your budget?" He was like, "Oh, hoping it would be for free." I'm like, "No, we don't ask our doctors to work for free. We don't ask, you know, our police officers to work for free. We should not ask our artists to work for free. You know, you want them to buy materials, spend time." Like, and so, but everybody was asking for free masks. I was like, "This is terrible." So then I started, and people were asking for masks and wanted to now buy. You know, it got to a point that people wanted to buy, and so then we organized a website that was able to take for one of my artists. It started off as one of my artists got a lot of orders. She was being overwhelmed. She's like, "Help me!" I was like, "No problem." So we built a way for her to take in orders. And so we called it Buy Masks Help, you know, artists. And so it was just for her. And then slowly, slowly, like the demand became more. We're like, okay, we need to get more people sewing masks. So then I said, okay, we're just going to start buying masks, paying artists for their masks, kind of like wholesale. And then we will sell them, you know, on the market for them. We'll do the sales, but that way they're at least being paid for their masks. And they're like, "Oh, I don't want to ask for money." I'm like, "No, we need to pay." So within 3 months, we raised about $35,000 for artists. You know, so on top of the grants that they got that. Um, then when summer happened, and then when we realized on winter, so we applied for a grant, and we said, "Hey, let's expand this marketplace that we've created and turn it into a marketplace for Sacramento made items that are zero waste, you know, that are eco-friendly." And our goal was to just help the artists get online as quickly as possible. So we photographed for them. We took in everything, all the yucky stuff artists hate doing, you know, on being online and selling online, we were going to do for them. And it went really well. And so now we have our marketplace. It's kind of grown since then. This is Sacramento.shop, and we like to be a circular economy marketplace, which means Has to be either upcycled, repurposed, eco-friendly, supports a cause. Most importantly, if you have packaging, you are responsible for that packaging on our marketplace. You have to be willing to accept all the packaging back because we tell our customers to bring the packaging back. So that way, when they come in, drop off new product, they're taking the empties with them. And that's how it works. And it's a zero waste economy. It is possible. I think that's what our job is to prove what's possible. So, so that's on marketplace. We do same day delivery in Sacramento online. We ship, internationally. Um, so everything you see there, and this is, I think in the 2021. Oh, I'll get to there. Hold on, stay right there. Back to yes. So in 2021, we opened it up and we're like, okay, let's now be a real store. We had to move from a big building. That big building sold, and so we moved into a more retail space so we could continue to be open during COVID. And the city was just nice enough to go, okay, here's a temporary spot. Here you go, kind of thing. And it turned out great.
And you guys are still here,
And
so I mean, because
what's
when
that?
and you guys are still here, so I'm assuming it's gonna become permanent. I mean, because
I
I
think
or
so. I think so. I think so. Well, I think the city likes us. They've been looking at, traffic in the area. We have been a driver of traffic in the area of Old Sacramento that, it's kind of like a neglected spot. And the building that we were in was vacant for about 10, 15 years. It was really, nobody wanted to touch it with a 10-foot pole, but we were like, hey, beggars can't be choosers, like we're taking it. And yeah, we've been able to turn it into a fun little creative space. So we started doing our art cafe. So if you came to shop, so now we have the retail space and the online market. And if you came to shop with us, then yeah, you could do art at our tables. And so it was really cool. So you can sculpt at our tables, paint a tote bag. And that cafe has been successful. We were like, well, what would it look like if we took this art cafe idea where we serve art, not food, kind of and made it mobile? And so that idea went well. So we did that. I worked with an artist, Mike Jones, and we upcycled a 1950s horse trailer into a solar powered mobile art cafe.
okay,
Um,
I'm gonna stop you there. How was the process for that? Because I'm super interested how the process to that was. Like,
mhm.
well, did you guys just work with the artist? Did you guys work with anyone else while upcycling this mobile, or was it just you two working on it? Like,
Oh
so,
no, 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 no. So we kept going with everything else. This kind of became like an additional project. How it worked with the artists. Mike Jones, the artist here, is the artist that actually, from the beginning, when I told you that artist told me like, "Hey, this would be cool. You should do this." That's Mike Jones. I blame Mike Jones, the artist. I work with him on this, on everything. I blame him for everything. So that's why I work with him. But he's an upcycle genius.
mhm.
He's just a genius at upcycling. Um, and so, we said, I had an idea of like, oh, let's, have some kind of cart that goes places. It's solar powered. I can put the tables and chairs inside. Like, this is my vision. I want it to be mobile and I want it to be zero waste. Like, let's figure it out. And we did. And the goal was also to make it cute. So, that it was really fun working with Mike. He's very experienced. Like, he wants to try things. He's okay with trying things, and it didn't work. And so we kind of work well together. Yeah, I very much enjoyed my process working with Mike on this. Very good friend, love him dearly. Um,
Okay.
and let me see. Oh, the activation. So yeah, since then we've been doing different activations as education. So now that we're in a retail spot, and behind us is the Polar Express. So we're like, okay, how do we educate on sustainability? So we came up with Sustainable Santa. So in the winter, and this is a really fun thing. So if you're in Sacramento in the winter, definitely come and check it out because it's super cute. Um, we have this thing called Sustainable Santa. and where it's kind of like this little stage kind of thing. And we tell the story that, why Santa's so important is because he protects the North Pole. His job is to keep the North Pole cold, so that protects the whole planet. And we tell the kids, but like, he's having a hard time and he needs everybody's help because he can't do it by himself anymore. And so we tell the kids, like, what are you going to do to help Santa to keep, the North Pole and the planet cold? And they're like, I'm going to throw my trash and I'm going to do this and I'm going to recycle more and I'm going to eat less meat, and it's kind of really introducing the kids. And then we take about 100 to 200 pictures for like $38 and we email them to you in a zero waste experience. You can print them however you like, but we email all of them to you. We're like, we don't have time to go through it. Here are them all. Do whatever you want with them. But yeah, it's an affordable way for the family to come and get really, really adorable pictures and a great experience. So they get to play with the box. There's a magic box, and they get to look inside a light up like Santa sack and stuff like that. And then we have outside, we have a bar, and we have hot cider and mulled wine. So then you can paint and sculpt and do it's a whole experience.
I
So
love it.
worthwhile.
I love how you guys are using like storytelling and these like small art events to like firstly for families to get together and also like educate children in the process. Because I know for a fact like this probably left an impact on a ton of those children. Because like even like me growing up, I would love watching Wildcrats. I think that's one reason why I was always like, oh my God, the environment, like plastic pollution, all this, like we need to do something. Because I'm like these animals are dying or endangered and stuff like that. So even these small things definitely leave an impact. And like I'm sure some of these children who you guys touched are definitely gonna grow up to work on like the environment and help continue the sustainability, work on
I
having
hope so.
sustainable.
I hope so. So I forgot to mention, because there's going to be lots of things I forget. But I forgot to mention that before they do the whole thing, they have to play our recycle challenge game. And this is where we kind of sneak in, haha, evil, like we sneak in education, and so before they kind of do that as a family, they have to play our recycle challenge game. And if they get it right, they get to do a free craft. So if they get like, into our top 10 leaderboard, then they get to do a free craft. But yes, it's our way of like educating the community in a fun way. But yeah, so we have this circular economy marketplace, and Heidi Sanborn, who I met doing that other
So they
the vape project, kind of reached out to me. She goes, "Hey, I think you'd be good to come be part of this working group. I think you'd be good." She invited me to be part. She's a smart woman, and so I joined this working group and we started talking about reuse. And then I was like, yeah, because we are already doing reuse, what we're doing with that circular economy marketplace. And SB 54, so I'll explain a little bit what SB 54, because Heidi invited me to be part of the implementation, and it's been both an honor and fun, but a lot of work to be part of it too. But so SB 54 in 2022 passed, and this is the Plastic Prevention, I forget, I put it there, the Plastic Pollution Prevention and Packaging Producer Responsibility Act. Oh my God, it's such a mouthful. I have to read it every time. So everybody just calls it SB 54, the plastic one. What that is, so for a long time, producers of products have externalized the cost of the packaging, meaning you buy something with packaging, and once you're done, it's yours. So you have to deal with the trash that that product creates. And yet, like the sorry, I kind of went off track there. So once but now they're trying to make it so that the producer has to pay for the packaging. And what that means is they're going to take,
so like
they're going to
once
take, oh
yeah,
yeah, I'm sorry. I just kind of ran out of thought for a second there. So I have to
yeah,
kind of come back.
you're fine.
Um, so what it means is, sorry, because I had my son coming in. So I'm like, I completely spaced out there. I'm like, family. Um, So for a long time, they've externalized the cost of it, and it's cost a lot on the cities, on the counties, on them to kind of handle with all this trash, cleaning it up and the messes, and paying for so much trash that is being generated. That the cities is kind of starting to look at this and going, this is a problem. Um, so now what they're doing is that all producers in California that make over $1 million in sales in sales need to be oh need to be need to pay into a producer responsibility organization, which is called a PRO. They'll pay into a portion what that PRO will decide, and then the PRO's goal is to collect that money and to divert it in a way that will reduce the amount of plastic that is being produced and will get us closer to a circular economy in general. So pretty much they're going to have an eco-modulation. So like the more your product pollutes or is wasteful, non-recyclable, you'll probably pay more. The more recyclable you are and everything, you'll pay less. Now, a portion of this, they said, is that they want to make sure that part of SB 54 that there's funding for reuse. So reuse and refill. So reuse and refill has gotten like quite a bit of like that this is our most sustainable way to get to things is reuse and refill. And so SB 54 actually carves out. So if you prove that you are, doing reuse and refill, you don't have to be in SB 54. So the goal is to really get them
Oh, that's actually
to
really
get there.
I see that. Yeah.
So, which is really, really cool. There are some problems with it, it's like because if they're no longer in the SB 54, then do they have to continue providing data? Because this would be a great way, for us to collect data and understand what's going on in terms of how much trash. So right now it's really hard to even measure the types of trash, the types of products. Like the producers of stuff are putting out so much stuff so quickly that the people on the what we call downstream are just inundated on how to deal with all this. And so what we're trying to do and what the goal of this is to really turn off the spigot. It's like how can we get to reduction goals with it? So that in the nutshell is SB 54. Hopefully,
Yeah, because I mean,
it's very complex.
Yeah, when once something is produced, like you're never gonna get rid of it. I mean, people would think like, oh yeah, it's just gonna, degrade over time, but they actually turn into microplastics, and then that's even worse for the ocean. Like this picture already shows how bigger the plastic affects sea, but like smaller ones are even worse. You're basically eating what you throw out. Because I mean, once you start eating seafood, you know, the fish or anything else, they're consuming those microplastics. I was really shocked when I learned there was like plastics in our shirts, and it's like even like when we throw these out, if you don't send them to like artists I know you guys have a couple artists who like use recycle clothes, like and make
and upcycle
products.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But I know like when most people sadly we either don't know how to recycle, we don't know what to do, or we just don't care. And that's the bad part because it's gonna exist forever, even maybe after you die, and that's just gonna leave like a worse environment for future generations. And I think definitely companies need to focus more on this policy. And I know I think California has this policy going on. You had mentioned maybe a couple states, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so they're called EPR laws, which is extended producer responsibility laws. Which is what it is. We're extending the producer's responsibility to also the packaging, where they're responsible. And it's been going on for quite a bit. Like it's been slowly growing. So I think Oregon, Colorado, I think there are a couple others that I can't remember off the top of my head that have passed EPR laws. They're very different, like I know that in Colorado they didn't extend it as much. I think California's is the most like extensive, like far reaching. but in Colorado, they didn't include plastic, right? So their APR, kind of excluded plastic, or maybe it can, has a little bit of it, but it doesn't go as far as California's.
And how
So in terms of, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, so no, go ahead. I want you to finish your sentence.
Oh
Just
no, it's all good. I think these are EPR laws, and I think it's starting to grow. I think people, which is what warms my heart, is that we're starting to understand the effect of our stuff and our like throwaway economy and what that's doing. I mean, so this is where we're going to talk about circular economy and what that is. And I don't know if people know who are listening, but a circular economy is really, I like to say this, like we've designed dumb. We've just designed dumb. Like we've designed to take something, use it, and throw it away. And that's dumb. We really need to design things so that way we can keep them in circulation for as long as possible, because we have a finite planet. Our planet is depleting. And as much as we think, oh, but like it's endless, no, it's not. It's not. And then we have to find other things. And then we become more desperate. And we're at the point now that if we don't change now, it is going to be pretty dire. At least that's how I feel. So circular economy is really, how can we keep things in rotation, still having an economy? It's still the capitalism. We're not trying to change all of that. It's just, how can we circulate things so we're actually looking at things like materials and not waste? This is plastic number X, not great. We don't like it, but hey, it's already in our environment, like, is what it is. What do we do with it? How do we figure it out? Like, how do we keep this in use, or at least not ruining the planet further? Right. So that's kind of what circular economy is it's kind of like being zero waste in a way. It's just figuring out how we make the economics of it work. And, there's a lot of studies out there. I know the MacArthur Foundation has been doing a lot of studies on it. And it shows that it's going to create a lot of green jobs. It's going to really help the economy and bring jobs back to here, because it's going to be people jobs, and we need people jobs. It's so funny. I hear like with government, it's like AI and AI is the future. Da, 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 da. Oh, but we need jobs. I'm like, jobs are people. You keep wanting to advance the AI, but you don't want to hire the people. So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's something that perplexes me sometimes with different parts of government. And I'm just like, you're not working together. So
how do you think we can get more states to like apply these laws to producing industries that work more on producing products? Because like maybe I know like as like younger people are a lot more energetic and more concerned about this topic than the older generation, right? Because they're
thank
gonna
God. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
And so like I mean personally I'm interested in how I can get Texas to apply if it hasn't yet, because I don't know if it has, but if it doesn't have any of these laws already being applied, like how we can help younger people work with their government officials and get this law in place.
Yeah. Well, one, oh my gosh, I would talk to Heidi. You know what? I would talk to Upstream. Upstream Solutions is a great nonprofit organization. And they focus on like reuse, and they're all about just kind of doing that, helping figure out. There are a bunch of nonprofit organizations doing amazing work. Story of Stuff, they've been doing a lot of work, but they're here in California. So let me think about kind of national. I would talk to Heidi Sanborn with the National Stewardship Action Council. The National Stewardship Action Council, I'm sure their office would be able to help, and if not, they'll be able to direct you to somebody that could. So, I mean, I think the goal would be just to find who would be the person there in Texas that would want to lead this. And I feel like this is a very, it's not like a blue or red thing. It really isn't. We're really talking about economic development. That's both a blue and red thing. We're both talking about now, how do we utilize our resources, right? Um, and I think I think both sides. So I don't see this as a partisan thing.
Mhm.
I see this is something that totally could work in any state, because it's really going to bring the jobs back. That's what it's going to do. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Would you like?
Okay. Yeah, you want me to talk about this? So this is SB 54 implementation timeline. So just for the geeks out there who are in SB 54, if you are a producer or product that makes over $1 million a year, but here's what's going on. So in 2022, it passed. They appointed last year an advisory group that is kind of, you've got some producers, you've got nonprofit leads, you've got EJ, organizations. It's a really great group. They're leading it, the advisory, helping advise CounterCycle as they implement this. So what happens is a bill passes, and if it's just an amendment to a bill, then it's not that big deal. But if it's something brand new that introduces a whole new thing, you have this implementation process where the department itself has to figure out how to implement this bill. And so there's a process to that too, which was interesting. I didn't know. So I'm all learning and all giddy, like, ooh, let's geek out on government stuff. Um, and so, yeah, so now they've chosen the advisory board is meeting, they've put out their needs assessment, and that is to figure out, they're going to put out contracts, going like, okay, what do we have, what's needed, um, how can we look at things, and then the needs assessment is going to say like, okay, this is how we're supposed to solve this problem. These are what we recommend the investments be. And so we really feel like it's important that we, the Atrium, and a bunch of nonprofits are involved in this process, because if we're not involved, then it's like we have a one shot to fix infrastructure. And what's cool about this is that this is opportunity for infrastructure build, and it's not built by tax dollars. It's built by, the producers who have to pay into this producer responsibility organization. So if
Mhm.
there's going to be funding for infrastructure, like we felt like it's really important that we strategically think about this, and how can we be there to try our best to make sure that like the infrastructure is really thought out. Because what happened with the recycling industry is that there really wasn't a plan. It was more kind of like led by market. And right now the recycling system is very fragmented and confusing for the consumer. Like, I don't know where this goes, what happens. And that's because it was hodgepodge put together by market. And so how you recycle in one county is different than how you recycle in another. And there are different rules and systems, and CalRecycle, it's very hard for CalRecycle to kind of really acquire that data. It's really, it's quite some work. And so we're like, well, we need to be there and figure out how can we build interoperable reuse infrastructure. Because what we believe is like, if there's going to be funding for reuse and refill, let's create the infrastructure right. And so what we've been doing is we launched recently Circular California. I'm going to take a sip, and this is kombucha, just so people know if they see me drinking this. This is kombucha. Um, um, so we recently launched Circular California, and this is kind of like a new project within the Atrium, and this project is to really strategically, thank you, to really strategically start thinking about how we can plan interoperable reuse infrastructure. So what I mean by that is like, well, let's imagine what the optimal thing would be. Like, what would be so badass in the system that would really, really work? Let's start from there and then reverse engineer it. Because for so long we've been trying to piecemeal things, and how do we do it like this? It's like, it's not working, peeps. Like, it's not working. So how can we imagine the best and then reverse engineer how we can get there? So, so we started doing these brainstorming sessions, and we're like, what if there was one system? What if there was one system like what the recycling was supposed to be? You see the symbol, it's recyclable, it goes in the recycle bin. Wow, that was simple. That's kind of the training, right? can we create a system like that again, but one that is smartly designed so that way, anyway, we have a lot of ideas that we've been
I
brainstorming.
love
If
it.
anybody wants to join, there's a form there to say that, hey, you're interested in kind of like being invited to things. And I think, yeah, the collaboration form. We have some really amazing people. And yeah, and we want to make it just fun because we need to brainstorm a new infrastructure. Like, how often do you get to do that? That's pretty fun. I don't know. For geeks like me, that's like, oh, we can build a new world. Like, who am I, but then we also have stakeholders in the room. So we have, people from actual producing products. I don't want to say the products that we have in the room, but like, um, from food producers to like doors and windows and things like that, and then environmental. We're all talking about like what could it be, what makes sense for the marketplace where this is going to be, and what makes sense, for both side government and everything, and then how do we build it together? So that's kind of what this is trying to create infrastructure that works. So brand new infrastructure, yay.
Yeah, honestly, I'm quite excited about this project. I hope everything turns out really well. I personally think it's needed. Like I lived in two different areas in Houston, and one had like a we have a recycling bin, a big one. And but then in the second place I lived, like we didn't have any bins for recycling. I was like, okay, something's wrong here. And then we got something. It's just like a little bucket, and I'm like, hold on. And so, as you said, it's like different every area, and I'm just so confused by it. So, we do need something that's going to work everywhere for people to easily understand, okay, this is recyclable. I can upcycle this. So, we're a lot more sustainable. And yeah, and I love this work that Atrium is doing. I love where Circular California is trying to go to, and I hope they do accomplish its goals. But yeah, and overall, this was like a great discussion. I love learning about this, talking to you about this. And honestly, like I want to be updated, so maybe I will fill out the form down below. But yeah, and before we do end our discussion, I also just want to mention, Shira Lane is working with as Atrium, or they are working with the PBS TV series on sustainability, and it's gonna be released in 2025, right? As I
Yeah, so we have a TV series that we're working on.
And y'all should
And
check out the trailer on their YouTube account. It's amazing.
oh,
I was like, this needs to get out. Like, I want to watch this.
oh,
Definitely.
thank you.
But
Thank you. And then, yeah, we're really excited. And our goal with that is to get that into education.
yeah.
We want to get that into schools. We want to provide that for free. So anybody that wants it, like, we want to provide that information for free for schools and all that and just get it out there.
The more educated people are, hopefully, the more change it'll bring. And
Absolutely.
before we do end this discussion, so as e-talks, we have a couple like special questions we ask at the end for our guest speakers. I'm gonna
Okay.
ask you four. So I'll ask you three. I'll ask you for my undecisiveness just got in. Sorry about that. So
No,
our
we're good.
first question is, what is your opinion on art?
What is my
So
opinion on art?
yeah,
Oh my
so what do
God.
you think is art? And like as I know because you lead such a big thing as Atrium, so I'm curious.
Art is everything. Art is everything because everything is in art. Like, you know, you can do anything and then you can do it artfully, right?
Mm.
And art is really it's kind of like geeking out with your brain, I feel. And that's what I love about it. Like that it stops you, makes you think. Like, yeah, you geek out with your brain on art. I
I I completely agree with everything you do well, like you put your whole heart into is art. Like you can make food if you put your heart into it, it's art. If you're an engineer, the project you're working in, anything you do. But yeah, and definitely with
yeah,
companies. But yeah.
yeah.
Okay, then I'll ask you our second question. And the next three are a little bit more personal.
Okay.
What is your favorite color? Because I know like not many like people when they're hosted, they're not asked these questions. So it might be a little shocking for you, or maybe not. I don't know.
No, it's okay. I'm an open book. I have nothing to hide. I'm an open book. Um, I have two and I love them equally.
That's
And
fine.
that's black and white.
Love it.
I know that's weird, but black and white for so many reasons. I love those two colors. So yeah. So both of them at the same.
Well, I mean, I know from an artist's perspective, I know they don't consider white and black as colors, but I'll accept your answer.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
I say they are. To me, they are. I know that's the argument, the artist argument. White is not a color. Like I'm like, yes, it is. It comes in its boob.
Alright. Okay, our next question is, what are three books you would recommend to our audience?
Three books you. Okay. Um, what do I have on my side? I'm just trying to think of what I have on my side bed right now that I'm reading or that I recently read because I think I mentioned this. I have bad memory.
You
I won't remember books that I've read, like unless I've read it recently. So, I mean, I remember the stuff, but I don't remember names and titles. Meditations, definitely Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Um, oh, I keep it by my bedside. I love it. Um, three more books. I think
two.
The Art of Story
Mhm.
was something I really enjoyed. And then the other thing that is not exactly a book, I mean, I'm more of I read research papers. I'm like, so I don't
But
really read
I'll
books.
read
I
it
read
just
a lot
for
of
you.
research papers. So I'm sorry, but uh research kind of like on what was most is kind of like I started doing research on fibers. I've been really getting into fibers recently. So this is like how geeky I am about paper. And as you know, there was a conversation yesterday I had, and they talked about how there's going to be a trend with SB 54 that there's going to be a growth of and a need of paper products. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh my gosh, okay, like does that mean what sort where are we sourcing this new material? Like we can't use wood chips. And so then I was like, oh my gosh, like they should be thinking about like hemp growth now. Like I'm like, okay. So anyway, so I'm researching hemp growth just because I think that growing hemp and the types of fibers, like the fibers of the hemp
Mhm.
are longer, and actually like paper made out of hemp is more durable. And so anyway, I'm geeking out about hemp and paper made out of hemp right now. So
Okay,
that's what I'm
that
geeking
got
out
my
about.
attention, and I definitely want to look into this too. Like, I was like, I'm gonna read it just because you recommended it, but right now I'm just like, okay, this piqued my interest. I'm definitely reading it for myself as well now.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be interesting because I think that's an economic development opportunity for California. Like we can start growing hemp. People can have like these small little farms and growing hemp, and then we can create our own paper products. I'm like, right now, we're importing paper products from China. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. Let's grow that because it's a green crop, which will help us because we need more greenery. It absorbs a lot of carbon. It's great for the soil. So actually, growing hemp is regenerative. So if we are moving in the direction of needing more pulp and fiber products to kind of help us get more sustainable, let's talk about like where that source. So it's again, connecting things, I feel like is what, is needed. Like everything working in silos just is not effective. So,
All right. I loved your answers, by the way. And our our fourth question is, it can be three, it can be one, up to you. What is three movies you'd recommend to our audience? It could be a TV show as well if there is any.
Kiss the Ground is a good documentary. Um, oh my gosh. I haven't been watching.
Can I say
I've
one?
been,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
yeah.
I want to say from her, I think one of your answers are Sustainability by Atrium. Next.
Oh yeah, Citizens of Planet Earth. That's the TV series that we're doing.
Oh yeah, sorry. Why did I say sustainability? My bad. Yeah,
You're
citizens
good.
matter. I think I just
Citizens of Planet
remembered
Earth.
like how it was just like about sustainability and like artists being a part of it. And that just stuck in my head, so I just named it as sustainability, my bad. Citizens of Planet Earth, yes.
Yes, that's true. I do watch that, and I do recommend that. And I recommend in taking it and sharing it once it's live. Just take it and share it with the community. I'm trying to think. That was two. I think that Kiss the Ground. Well, I could recommend my own documentary, but I'm actually, yeah, the dairy industry. If you want to learn about the dairy industry, I made a documentary called "Got the Facts on Milk" or Milk Documentary.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Um, and it's a little expose on the dairy industry. And it's an oldie though. It's an oldie. It's way back in the day. Um, but a lot of times, back they didn't know that milk was not a healthy thing. Everybody thought milk in the dairy industry is great, and really, we're not exposed to how bad it was for the environment, how bad it is for your health. And anyway, so if you want to learn about that, then yeah, milk documentary.
Definitely, I'm gonna look into that. I think my sister might be a little bit more interested, but I'll let her know about that one. But thank you so much about everything you talked about. It was wonderful, to be honest. I learned a lot, and I hope our audience did too. Thank you everyone for joining us for this episode, and see you next week.